I just want to know like the history of the Polynesian Cultural Center, how it was started, what was the idea behind it. So yeah, I was gonna say who wants to take a crack at it.
So BYU Hawaii formerly was known as Church College of Hawaii. And it came about because the president of our church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, was visiting. He was on a world tour. And he noticed a flag-raising ceremony at La'i Elementary School, right over here. And he noticed that there were multiple different ethnicities there, all pledging allegiance to the flag. And it inspired him to think that, you know, what about the future? How would all these generations from different places be able to further themselves with the education? And that thought never left his mind. And this was back in, I think, the 30s.
1921.
1921. Our historian, too. Yeah. And so he came back and as a president determined that we would open up a school here to provide higher learning for the people of the Pacific, particularly the islands of the South Pacific and Hawaii and so forth. And so they actually reached out to those islands and asked people to come and volunteer their services. And we called them labor missionaries. And so they came up here to Hawaii. They gave up their jobs and everything, and they came up here. Some of them were married. A lot of them were young men, handsome guys, you know, and women. And they came up here and they labored for several years, and they built Church College of Hawaii. But as they built it, they recognized that it was going to be difficult for the students to help contribute to the cost of their education. Their families back in the islands really, they were self-sufficient families, but they didn't have cash to pay for schooling. And so they remembered a discussion that had happened years ago about the different Polynesians coming here to actually visit the temple here in La'i. And they had talked way back then about saying, oh, what if they had their own villages here and they could cover the cost of their travel by maybe performing for visitors and so forth. And, you know, at that time, and even at the time when they're having this discussion in 1960 and so forth, they're thinking, but there's hardly any visitors in Hawaii. There's like 100,000 visitors, and not many of them come out here. But there'd been some things happening that helped inspire people. There had been the hukila down here at the bay, and a lot of people had come to that. The students had been going into town and performing at a show at the Hilton Dome, you know, predates you, I think. But
oh, yeah, totally. I remember.
Yeah. Called Polynesian Panorama. So we knew that there was some interest in it. So they decided that to start a center that would provide employment opportunities for the students attending BYU Hawaii. And so first and foremost, that's why the Polynesian Cultural Center was created. One, to share the cultures, diversity, and spirit of Polynesia while providing employment opportunities and growth opportunities for students at BYU Hawaii. And it's been an amazing experience. And we've had over 40,000 students have paid their way through school by working here, and millions and millions and millions of, you know, visitors have experienced that over the last 60 years. So that was why the center was created, to perpetuate our cultures, preserve, perpetuate, portray them, and then also to provide employment opportunities for the students. And so today we have around 800 to 850 students employed here at the Polynesian Cultural Center, learning valuable skills and also helping pay for their schooling.
That's amazing. And when I learned all of that, when I had the tour from Auntie Delsa herself, she was educating me on all this. And I was just so impressed by the representation and how helpful this opportunity is for people to come to Hawaii and experience it. But not only that, but experience other cultures and, you know, coexist with other people. I mean, because that's what we need in life, right? More people need to experience that, you know, living with people that, don't look like you, don't sound like you, even though, a lot of the Polynesian culture, we all kind of, we're brother sisters, right?
Yeah.
Cousins, whatever. But just having that chance to, have this experience it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And what's cool about this relationship we have with BYU Hawaii is that by the time the students graduate, they have an academic degree, they've got work experience, whether they worked here at PCC or BYU, and they graduate debt-free. And that's, and we know what it's like to graduate with huge college debt. And these students can graduate debt-free when they leave here. And
and they had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They did all that and had a lot of fun while they were doing it. So
I love that. So when people come, how does it work where they get placed in a certain position or village or role? How does that work? They have to have prior experience?
No, many of our student workers, this is their first job ever. And so what happens is at the beginning of every semester, we have a list of course, which jobs are vacant throughout the center. And then we have like a big job fair. All of the new students come and they list down, where they'd prefer to work. And then they go on an interview, just like any other job. You go interview, you got to sell yourself. If you're going to be a dancer, you've got to audition. You've got to go through these skills. So they give them a little bit of coaching beforehand. And then they go through the process, and the managers or supervisors who do those interviews and auditions will make the decision as to who gets hired. And they get placed that way. So sometimes students don't always get their job of choice. And we tell them, just get a job. It's important to just have a job. And then the job that you're interested in, you go and let them know that if an opening comes up later, that you would like to be able to transfer there. But in the meantime, make sure you're a really outstanding employee in the job that you're at, because supervisors talk to each other. And if you're going to be a lousy employee there, there's no way we're going to want you in the job of, that you prefer. So it's worked out really good. And many of them will work in jobs that relate to their major, and many of them do not. For example, there's those that dance in the shows. A lot of them have majors that have nothing to do with the show, but they work at the show for cultural reasons because they enjoy learning about their culture and other cultures by dancing in the show, and it's fun. It's their release. And so they develop a good work ethic, which looks good on any resume, even though it might not fit their major. And so every semester, this placement takes place. And then sometimes because of class schedule, they can't remain in the job they're in, and so they'll transfer someplace else.
And that's just good advice too for everybody, just, coming up, finding what they want to do in their career, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, but also, say you're a coach. That doesn't mean you're going to go coach for the rest of your life, but you get the leadership skills,
Exactly.
There's all these intangibles that you can take with you into other things. So, that's exactly like what you're saying, if I worked at the movie theaters, I know how to scoop popcorn in a bag and sell it to people, but that's really not practical. But what I've learned is customer service, how to interact with people. Work under pressure, exactly. So
those are the skills that employers actually look at, because they can train you on the technical aspects of your job. And that's what we tell them. They don't have to have any work experience, but we can tell through the interview what their attitude is like. For a dancer, if they're coordinated, then we'll teach them. And and a lot of them, well, all of them, they flourish, once they get into that environment and realize that, hey, I'm not the only one where this is my first job, and we have really good trainers in all of the departments. And so they learn these skills that are transferable to whichever job they go to.
Yeah, they learn some valuable skill sets, but one of the ones that I find that employers are interested in is in their resume is the attendance record, A lot of employees tell us, they said, man, what we're asking is, will you show up, for work? And so they have that. But we have BYU Hawaii holds a conference every year called the Asia Pacific Career Conference. And you got Google, Microsoft, all these guys coming in here, and they meet the students on campus, they meet them over here. And a lot of them either get internships with those companies or they get job offers. And part of the reason why is they've learned how to communicate openly. And a lot of our Polynesian kids, they're really used to being in the background, you know. But here at the center, it's like everyone wants to meet you. They came here to meet you, okay? And so they have to come out the front, they have to talk to people, and so they develop that skill set. And then when it comes into the job interview process, it really, really helps them out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just wanna, if you're driving right now listening to this, you aren't being fired at. Those aren't gunshots. It's just the emo in the background.
Yeah.
We're good.